Oh, hey everybody. My name's John.
I'm Bob. He's Bi.
They're Butch.
And together we are the Butch and the Bi.
And this week, we had a good time watching just a young man, do things his own way.
We had a good time watching a whole art gallery pass in front of our eyes.
We had a good time watching Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Are you prepared to talk about this masterpiece of a movie?
I am so excited, especially for you to give me a whole bunch of information about the technical side of this.
I've got a whole book report, guys. I did research this time. We're gonna make this. This is an informational section here. So Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is the sequel to the 2018 animated Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse film. If you have not seen that before, we highly recommend it. Is probably still the best superhero movie, and definitely the best animated movie, hands down. And it continues the story of Miles Morales exploring the multiverse as he teams up with various versions of Spider-Women's from across the different dimensions.
Spider Peeps.
Spider Peeps is something that Mandy would review on Peep Review.
Yes.
I think she probably has. Now that I think about it, I could probably go track a clip down on their Twitter.
I got the follow-up to the Pop-Tart, the Spider
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Perfect. We've got this. Hire us, whoever makes Pop to Kellogg's. Don't hire us. We don't want to work for you. This includes Gwen Stacy Spider-Woman. Her hero name in this version of the character is Spider-Woman. She's typically either Ghost Spider or Spider-Gwen is another one. Jessica Drew Spider-Woman, which was exciting. Hobie Brown Spider-Punk. Miguel O'Hara Spider-Man 2099. Peter B. Parker Spider-Man. Paviter Prabhakar. I'm butchering that, I'm sure, which is the Spider-Man of India, as they track down the new villain Spot. The movie is directed by Joaquim Dos Santos, who, fun facts, produced and directed many episodes of Justice League Unlimited, as well as some episodes of Avatar: The Last Airbender and Legend of Korra. Kemp Powers, who is the co-director and worked on the screenplay for 2020's Soul. Justin K. Thompson, who did production work on Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, both of the movies, the first Spider-Verse movie, and the movie is written and produced by the duo, Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, who a lot of things, but the highlights being Into the Spider-Verse, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatball movies, both Lego movies, and they were also the producers on the Mitchells vs. the Machines. They were not writer or director, but it definitely has that kind of aesthetic to it. New to the franchise, David Callahan, who worked on like several Expendables movies as a writer, as well as 2021's Mortal Kombat, and most recently seen on the show in Shang-Chi and the Legend of Ten Rings, was the last thing we've watched on here that he was involved with. The cast sees the return of Shameik Moore as Miles Morales. Hailee Steinfeld returns as Gwen. Brian Tyree Henry returns as Jeff. Lauren Velez returns as Rio. Jake Johnson returns as Peter B. Oscar Isaac returns from the post-credit sequence of the first movie as Miguel. And newcomers to the franchise include Jason Schwartzman as the Spot, Issa Rae as Jessica Drew, Daniel Kaluuya as Hobie, and Karan Soni as Paviter, which I'm going to start saying Pavi because that's what Gwen calls him in the movie. And I'm going to piggyback off of that, white girl. Just real hard. The movie itself is composed by Daniel Pemberton, who worked on Nola Holmes 1 and 2, Being the Ricardos, which is the Amazon I Love Lucy series, and Amsterdam, which was the Christian Bale movie that came out earlier last year, I believe, and edited by Michael Andrews, who edited Mr. Peabody and Sherman, which is one of my favorite early Sony Pictures animation films. He also edited Megamind and the second and third Shrek movies. So fun connections to our last episode where we watched Puss in Boots.
Yeah, there's a lot of really good people.
So many good people in this movie.
And the like history of Expendables is like, you know how to do action really good, and that's where that comes from.
Yeah, it's kind of like we talk about them a lot in the show, but Corridor Digital does their like stuntmen react episodes, and whenever the stuntmen are on, it's usually people that went from being stuntmen in movies that, you know, we saw growing up or movies that came out before we were born kind of thing, that are now more in like production positions. They know exactly what is happening in a stunt scene, therefore they are very good at shooting a stunt scene, which is why stuff like John Wick works really well. because it's being created by people that aren't just using it as a tool for shits and giggles. They actually have a narrative execution for what they're doing. And this
Yeah.
movie is no different. One of the biggest features / functions of these two movies, and we'll be kind of talking about them interchangeably in this way, is the animation department. It is taking animation styles from many different decades, many different genres, even many different parts of the world, and executing them and blending them together in ways that are just so fascinating to watch. But Bob, when we got out of the movie theater, what was your kind of spoiler-free general, as you were walking away, what were your thoughts?
Truly, like, that feeling of just awe, because it is so beautiful and also so emotionally, it hits so good. The thing that I've seen said a lot about the Spider-Verse movies, which I also agree with, is there's so many times where you see the art for a movie, like the concept art, and you're like, oh, I wish they had done something more similar to this. It just is. It is the really cool concept art, the shapy things, the bold colors, not clean line work. It is the concept art you see and are like, oh, that's so good. And then you see like Elsa and you're like, she could have been so cool looking if you didn't have to make her look like every other.
Yeah, I think there's this kind of, when it comes to concept art, that process not inherently is rushed in any way, but it's often treated as pre-production work, and therefore the expectation is, oh, we'll figure it out. It's kind of like we'll figure it out in post, but it's like we'll figure it out in production kind of thing. And I think Into the Spider-Verse really cracked open that like you can have a little more of a painterly look to your animation. Another movie that really stands out to me is like, and we talked about this when we watched Puss in Boots a couple weeks ago, just taking the idea that you can make something still look 2D even if you're animating in a 3D landscape. And this movie says, hey, what if we did all of the things? And I really appreciate, like you were saying, that concept art look. A series that I want to check out is Arcane, specifically because the art style is so much that level of, is it 2D, is it 3D? God, the lighting's beautiful. Wow, they're really using the fact that they're in animation to really do a lot of things with motion and speed and just attention to detail in the places where they want you to focus. And this movie has that in spades.
It truly is. It's long and I could have watched more. I come from the discipline of watching BBC miniseries adaptations of classic literature. If something's good, I will sit and watch it for 5 hours. That's fine. I hope when the next part comes out that some theaters will do back-to-back screenings.
Oh, I'm sure they're going
like,
to.
Please
be.
just
Yeah.
let me.
AMC definitely will be.
Yeah, because, oh my God, I do just want to watch it. It's such a good movie, and we were talking about it as we were leaving, like, can we come back and watch this again? And only because we are tired, busy people have we not really.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those movies that really made me, like, there have been a lot of movies in the last couple of years that I'm like, man, I can't wait to watch it again in the comfort of my own home where I can pause it, go to the bathroom, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And this was the first movie in a while, and I mean, we still might, before it's out of theaters, go back and see it. Because it's the art style itself, like you were saying earlier, of like watching an art gallery pass by us, like it'd be foolish not to go back. And because when the first time you're seeing this movie, you're just taking it all in. And we can move into a little bit of the not a little bit, we can just move into spoiler territory.
Alrighty.
But
this is your warning.
Yeah, this is your warning. If you haven't seen this, Bacon, I guess keep listening. But if you haven't seen this, go watch it. Go check it out. It's really good. Any critiques I have are nitpicky that we'll get into later. But the overall, I think just the execution. So this movie opens up with Gwen Stacy being presented as kind of the main character. She has a lot more screen time, a lot more exposition, a lot more story, a lot more of her backstory being focused on, and a lot of her emotionality being focused on.
It starts with her perspective, and it stays there for a while, and we finally get to see her world where everything is colors and the emotions are colors, and it's so cool. And that's like honestly the thing that I want to just have playing on the inside of my eyelids when I close them, is just like, I want to look at all those colors and think about the feelings that the colors represent.
Yeah. They've been doing a lot of press, obviously, for the movie, and Hailee Steinfeld specifically was talking about how when they described her world, Gwen's world to her, they were very much like, it's as though she lives in a mood ring. And it's a very accurate depiction of that. I like the idea that this second movie, Miles is still the main character. It is still focused on Miles, and he is the perspective of the audience. But as far as a complete story arc in this movie goes, it is Gwen, because her relationship with her father is tenuous, because in her universe, Peter Parker's the Lizard, and he gets killed at prom, basically trying to fight Spider-Woman. And Captain Stacy, unfortunately, is under the impression that Spider-Woman killed Peter Parker, and not Spider-Woman stopped the Lizard from killing all the teenagers at prom. And it leads to Gwen's relationship with her father being very stressed, not dissimilar to Peter Parker and Captain Spacey in Amazing Spider-Man, where it's that level of he's hunting him very specifically, and her escaping into the multiverse when she's invited after a really sick version of the Vulture is tormenting her world.
It's like a Leonardo da Vinci illustration. It's so good.
Yeah.
When that came on, that was when I was like, oh, this is going to be something really cool. This movie is going to be amazing.
Yeah, him and Hobie have this kind of like paper cut look to them, where they're kind of like pasted onto the scene in stop motion. It's really cool. And that's where she's introduced to Miguel and Jessica. And when we met Miguel at the end of the last movie, it was kind of unclear of how, what was this going to look like? What was his incorporation into the story going to look like? How was he going to be as a character? And we come to realize that he's kind of he's the authority figure of the Spider-Verse. He is the one responsible for kind of keeping everyone in check. And it goes in some interesting places with that.
So Miles, it's been a little over a year, a little over a year since the events of the last movie. So he's been Spider-Man. He's been Spider-Manning.
Is he one of the football players' brothers?
Yeah, okay. Tatum Channing,
Eli Manning, and Spider-Manning.
Yeah. Channing Manning.
Channing Manning. We're not sports people.
Yeah, what makes you think we're sports people?
I at least know who Eli Manning is.
And it is his double life is starting to wear on his schooling, wear on his connection with his family, because you hear police sirens and you're like, oh no, I gotta go take this, which is it happens. It's a big superhero thing. It's like you hear the sirens, you're like, I was in the middle of this very important emotional conversation with someone who I care about deeply, but because I haven't told them that I'm the hero, you just like, I gotta go. And it's
the dynamic between him and his parents in this one is he's definitely like, they're viewing it as just him. He's growing up faster than they want him to. Like, that's where they're at. They think it's just that he's growing up too fast, and they don't realize that, oh no, it's because he's a superhero.
Yeah, it's very much like, oh, my kid's going out late and like not talking to me about things. It's like, oh, normal teen stuff. And it's like, no.
Yeah.
He's Spider-Man.
But we get a lot more of his family this time around, which is, I think, really great, because especially with where the movie goes with his family being the focus, I'm curious to see how the third movie plays out with that. But we also are introduced to the Spot in this movie, which the Spot's one of my favorite Spider-Man, like weird Spider-Man villains. He was featured prominently in the 90s Spider-Man show that a lot of people watching this movie probably grew up on, but he has the ability to kind of punch holes into the fabric of the universe and have his body parts and whatever he puts through those holes come out another side.
Yeah,
it works so well for animation.
So cool for animation. And also the creators are talking about like how he's treated like very silly in the comics, and then they're like, but his power is actually, this is terrifying. And his development in the movie is so interesting, because he starts off very silly and just frustrated at Spider-Man for taking away his face and his normal life as a scientist working for Giant Wilson Fisk, doing dumb stuff.
I love, yeah, he's the one that gets smacked in the face with the bagel in the first movie.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of that in this movie. And I mean, honestly, with everything I've seen, it's seeming like more and more intentional everything. Like the spider that bit Miles specifically glitches out in the first movie, and that plays into this one. And the color scheme of his spider sense in the first movie really plays into his character in this one. And like, there are so many things that like there's no way that they weren't planted there intentionally for future narrative stuff. As opposed to the bagel, him being the guy that gets hits in the face with the bagel is very much like something you'd see in another movie. And we see it with in the Spider-Man Far From Home, the one with Mysterio, his little ragtag group of criminals, one of them is the guy that Obadiah Stane is yelling at in the first Iron Man movie. And so it's inserting this, it's taking a character from, seemingly innocuous background character, bringing them to the forefront, and having that situation be their reason for being the way they are. And this movie has so many things that could have been like that or could have been planned. And it's fascinating to try to figure out which is which.
That's a whole thing with media analyzation, and people will make jokes about in like high school being like, oh, you need to analyze this book, and it's like the curtain is blue because this, and it's like there's always a level of sometimes author's intent is there and things are very intentional, and sometimes it's you can read things into many different things that were not intended, but it's about that interplay between the creator and the observer. Things that sometimes we do as artists that we don't even realize ourselves, but also just the ability to look at something you've made and be like, oh, these things could be for this reason also, even if it's not that it was planned a lot of time. It's being able to be like, I can keep playing with this thing that I made, especially if someone else is like, you know what would be great if this villain was the guy who got hit in the face with the bagel, and someone else is like, oh, heck yeah.
Well, and it's funny that you're talking about planning and being planned, because basically the crux of this film and the crux of all Spider-Man characters across all the Spider-Verses is this thing called canon events. Basically, Miles and Gwen meet Pavi on his world as they're chasing Spot, and they stop his canon event from happening, which basically is the idea that, the Uncle Ben character will die. The police captain character, like Captain Stacy, has to die for, Spider-Man has to have great loss for him to truly become Spider-Man and be who he's supposed to be, or, any spider person. And Miguel has a lot of past trauma, and he kind of did the Rick and Morty thing where he took over the life of another Miguel that went missing to make up for the loss that he had in his own life. And that resulted in the loss happening again. And so he's gone out of his way to set up this whole network of spider people, specifically people that were, chosen by the spider, that were bitten by the spider of their universe. And it's revealed that the spider that bit Miles of his world, right? This is a spider that got teleported over because of the collider stuff that was happening with Kingpin.
Yeah.
And so playing into the idea of how much of your fate is decided, and how much of, are you a thief because you got the powers, and for that reason there's another place out there without a Spider-Man. And Miguel's very much the antagonist of the movie, but like he's an antagonist in a way that is not, he is a super villain. He's definitely got some dark and twisty stuff going on. He's seemingly a vampire, which is cool. The design of him is really cool, but like he's doing what he thinks is the right thing to keep things the way they're supposed to be and prevent worlds from being destroyed.
Yeah, it's sort of it's the incursion thing
Yes.
that we saw in Doctor Strange. It's like if you mess with reality too much, you will destroy it, and you can destroy entire worlds. And so we see that with the glitching coming back in Pavi's world after the event happens.
It's like a white void that's forming, and kind of like, and which is really cool from an animation standpoint, because Coraline did a similar thing where it's like the house is all like pencil drawn and starts to disappear. It's the same thing here, as he saves the father of his girlfriend, who's the police captain. That then causes the world to start to fall apart, and the spider people are they come in like the Men in Black and try to like fix that. And so it's that thing of like, Miguel isn't unfounded in what he's trying to do, but the way he's going about it, and the way that I hope Brown is the best in this movie.
I don't know what.
We'll get into
Okay.
him because he's much more
favorite.
falls into but he really is the one that's poking Miles's buttons to really kind of make him like, don't get too excited about the situation. Don't get too excited about all these spider people because it's not the best. And the reason is because Miguel knows, and the reason Miles wasn't invited is because technically you're not supposed to be a spider person. Therefore, you're not invited to our little club. Meanwhile, like, if he had included him, the order of events probably wouldn't have gone down the way they did. More so, if Gang had actually called the police on spot, like Miles had asked him to do, the movie wouldn't have happened the way it did. But that's a different situation. We find out that Miles' dad, Jefferson, is supposed to die.
He's getting a promotion.
He's getting a promotion to the police captain, and therefore he's got to go because job titles equal death in the Spider-Man universe. And Miles, there's this wonderful chase sequence where he's being chased by all these different versions of spider people that he's met up to this point in this movie. And this really great chase sequence that takes place on a train. I love that the top of a train has become a very iconic Spider-Man cinematic thing.
Yeah, even in the spider world, they have a train, and that's where the fight happens on top of the train that's going straight up.
Going straight up very fast, and it leads to some really dynamic action.
There's, especially with this sequence, there's these flashes in the animation that are just, it's such a cool, using animation as the art form and appreciating the things it can do rather than like, be like, well, we gotta make something animated. We're gonna make it look as real as possible.
Yeah.
It's so boring. And so there's these moments where these frames that like the colors are basically inverted flash in, and it adds such interesting tension and like
Well, and it's that tension's there because like Miles at this point has been betrayed because like Peter B and Gwen knew the situation, and that's why they hadn't been to see him. And also Peter B has made and every Spider-Man rejoiced because it means him and Mary Jane are together, unlike in the comics. And this chase scene really is the culmination of Miles learning that in order to be the Spider-Man that he was taught to be by his friends from the first movie, he needs to do things his own way. And what I really love is that by the end of the movie, you already see his friends doubting what they're doing. Like they're like, oh, we shouldn't be doing this. He's our friend. Like there's this really great scene between him and Peter B. I really appreciate that like the two characters that really almost like immediately without question help him are Spider-Bite and Hobie, because they're very like, ooh, what we're doing here is wrong.
it's a little black solidarity. They understand what's going on. I had known in the first movie that the spider that he gets bit by was from a different universe because it was glitching. That clicked for me. I had never questioned that, but we learn more about that spider in this movie and where it's specifically from because there's a device that they have been mainly sending back the villains who've been ending up in random places to go to their home universe. It analyzes you, it sends you out. And so Miles jumps in that and he gets sent not home.
It reads the spider's
It
DNA.
reads the spider's DNA, which is such an, like, he has been changed by this spider from a different universe, and that is what it reads.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes to Universe 42, the world without Spider-Man. Yeah. And the beginning of that is so interesting because it's his first, he meets his mom, and there's this weird feeling. And we're like, what? And when he says Spider-Man, she's like, what?
Well, and I was really fascinated by how many people talked about how they did not clock that the little screen said that he was going to the spider's Earth. And that kind of plays into, we were talking about it a little bit ago, but there's the scene where he first has his spider sense when he's interacting with the original Peter Parker of his world. And his spider sense colors are green and purple, while Peter's are red and blue, and it regulates to that universe a little bit. It switches to red and blue to match, but like that implies that like the spider stuff initially is going off of the spider's DNA, like down to its core. And I really appreciate that like it's almost like Bizarro World. Like
Mm,
he's walking into his home, everything seems normal and fine. To us, the way the world's being presented is different, but to Miles, it's just like, oh, good, I'm home, I can save my dad, kind of thing. But the lighting and the color scheme is all green and purple. And that's when Aaron Davis, his uncle, walks in, who was killed in the first movie. And you're like, what the fuck is happening? And he's knocked out because Uncle Aaron realizes, hey, you're not Miles, you're Miles. And he wakes up hanging from a boxing bag, which is a punching bag, which is exactly how he had Peter B in the first movie, so he could interrogate him. And he wakes up, comes to, and it's Prowler, but it's not Uncle Aaron is Prowler. It's Miles of this world is Prowler, and he's got his hand on his shoulder. He's about to say hey, because it's the thing that Uncle Aaron taught him.
yep.
But yeah, it's such a, I think for me, that's, so it ends on that cliffhanger. It ends with Gwen and the team kind of like the team of his friends and the people that are not really with Miguel kind of showing up to try to save his dad. But like I'm really excited to see where it goes. Spot was really great, and I'm really excited to see what he's become, because again, the character that got the full arc was Gwen, because she does eventually make her way back to her world, and she has that resolution with her father, and he had quit the police force and like all this stuff.
Yeah, when she realizes, wait, you're not captain anymore, and is just that relief. She's like, oh my God, my dad's not gonna die.
Mhm.
Oh, but yeah, the colors in that scene especially, because it's them on opposite sides of the screen until she runs to hug him, and then the emotions bloom outward in bursts of color. And it's
Yeah.
so pretty. Yeah, I love her so much, and I love the band she's auditioning for at the beginning as the Mary Janes, and just
She's practicing with them. She was
Prac-
with them in the first movie.
mm,
Yeah, they're in the comics too.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
That's the fun. Her arc is her being like, I don't want to be a part of this band. She's like, I had to make my own band, and then she's got all the spider people, and it's like, yeah.
we're gonna transition now into what were some of our favorite things? I know I've got my list, Bob,
hmm
but what's something that stands out to you? What's one of your favorite things from this?
I love spider therapy.
Yes, and then
As a-
my Uncle Ben. Let me guess, he died.
He died. It's there's and just that level of just like there's so many little things and why I want to watch it over and over and over again,
Mhm.
because there is so much, and it's a movie made with such love for the character in all its versions.
Yeah.
Also, in that vein of seeing things, Ben Reilly clone.
Oh my God, emo boy Ben
Yeah.
Reilly, which also kind of plays into the like, well, he's just a clone of Spider-Man, so like, how does that make him Spider-Man? Miguel is not Peter Parker. There's a lot of really interesting stuff. Yeah,
Mhm.
kind of to your point of it's kind of the Hall of Cameos, like they call it.
Yeah.
What's it? It's like New Manhattan or something, or like New York or something.
Something like
It's
that.
Miguel's world. And he's set up this lair for all the spider people, which is upside down, by the way, which is really cool. That whole part of the film, they're walking on the ceiling. But the two or three things that really stood out to me in that kind of section, we get Donald Glover playing the live action version of Aaron Davis's Prowler. It's, who knows if Marvel Studios is going to piggyback off of that and make him actually, be Prowler in the movies. I think it'd be a waste of an opportunity to do so, but I love that they included that here. They included a couple of clips of a bunch of different, the Uncle Ben situations, and that included both Andrew's interactions with Ben and with Captain Stacy. We also get a version of Doc Ock that's like a very classic Doc Ock, but it uses a voice clip from Alfred Molina. And it's a whole Easter egg section. Just put it on a wall and play Where's Waldo.
Cowboy and the Spider Horse.
Yeah, the T-Rex Spider-Man. Yeah, it's very good. There's
T-Rex Spider-Man is such a funny concept as something with such small arms, when the arms are such an important part of how he moves around.
Hobie Brown.
Yeah.
Hobie Brown's version of the Prowler is one of my favorite Spider-Man allies in general. It is the first instance of a Spider-Man villain that Spider-Man successfully rehabilitates, kind of thing, and gets him to be on his side. and his costume is so good. I love the original Prowler outfit, and it makes me the one downside to the focus being on Aaron Davis's version of the Prowler is that we won't get the classic Prowler costume. It's always going to be the more militarized, mechanized version, which is fine in its own right. But like, it's just a very campy 60s superhero costume. But Hobie in this as Spider-Punk is just, first off, character design, hair, amazing. Lanky, long arms and legs, amazing. The vest, amazing. The fact that he is very much kind of like news clippings, and just his color changes depending on who he's interacting with and how he feels about them.
Did you see some of the breakdowns of when his frames were shifting? Because they were animating like each part of him on a different...
Yeah, he was at a different frame rate than the rest of the...
He was a different frame rate than everyone else, but also his parts were not like at the same... Things were shifting, and they had a little
his
rule
guitar
guide.
was separate from his vest and separate from his body and separate from his hair.
Yeah, it was just like looking at that, because I've done a little bit of animation, like read things about animation, and I was trying to wrap my mind around that of just like, oh my God, it's such a cool concept.
So
and it
good.
comes across, it's so punk. It's so perfect for him. It's so different from everything else. And it is that DIY, scrappy vibe. And he's just got all the best lines. It's just casually being like, this is all silly.
Yeah. And then for me, the last thing that really stood out as my favorite thing is Gwen's opening to the movie, talking about Miles Morales getting bitten by a spider, and he's not the only one, and that kind of being this almost like the spoken word thing to the score, and it just builds up and builds up, and it's such a great opening to the movie, and a great opening to kind of explaining where we're at with the characters, because they're all observing Miles, but they're all also aware of the other situation, which is, oh no, he's not the only one, but he is the only one. It's very good. It's very well done.
Yeah,
Do you have any other favorite things?
I mean, Spot, and just as he gets more cosmically horrifying, it's such a good progression.
When you were talking about character design and concept art, and his whole thing is he is kind of an unfinished drawing, you can literally see the sketch lines for like the ball and line joints that you would do as the armature for a character.
As he gets more horrifying, he gets more sketchy.
Yeah.
Also, we have to say, amazing Lego stop motion section.
Yeah, it's the Lego stop motion portion's amazing and may come up later. Moving on to our next thing, which is recommendations. If you enjoyed this movie, we have a couple of thoughts. We watch movies, we watch TV shows, we have thoughts on things. And to me, I have a list. I have 3 movies that I think I would recommend to people if they enjoyed this and they want more of it. And then if you have anything you want to add to that, go for it. So first off, the first Spider-Verse movie, Into the Spider-Verse. If you haven't seen it, see them in order, I guess. But like if you saw this one first or you listened to this first, just go watch it. So it is such a tight film, and it's an amazing movie.
One of my top 10.
Yeah. The Mitchells versus the Machines. If you're into that really kind of energetic, crazy animation that really plays with the format, and you're into the kind of like, in that case, it's an actual family, not found family, but into that kind of family dynamic of like a family that maybe doesn't start at a level of understanding, but then works towards that. And is just kind of a fun action movie. It's very good. And then Everything Everywhere All at Once, which just, it is the best live action multiverse movie that we've gotten out of all the different things so far. Michelle Yeoh delivers just a stunning performance. Stephanie Hsu as well. Ki-hye Kwan. Just the entire cast is amazing. Jamie Lee Curtis. Can't gush about it enough. Do you have any other recommendations if people like this?
Yeah, so I'm gonna go a slightly different direction, and I'm gonna bring up Kipo and the Age of the Wonder Beast, which is a Netflix show. Which, when I first started watching it, I was a little peeved with some of the animation choices. Mainly the head shape was just kind of weird to me. But there is a lot of really beautiful animation. But there's also, it has a lot of the same themes and vibes. It's a world much further in the future with animals that talk, mutants that are shortened to mutes, and the positive energy of the lead and the making friends and trying really hard to talk to villains kind of thing. All of those vibes are there, and I
Nice.
highly recommend it. It's good.
Very good. And then moving on, Bob, I have trivia for you this time as we reincorporate trivia into the show.
Yeah, getting back on the trivia horse.
Question 1. These are all multiple choice questions. There are 5 of them. And if you get 3 or more correct, I will let you continue living in this house. So there's that.
Oh boy.
Okay.
Actual stakes in our podcast.
Honk, honk. So question 1. The film is 2 hours and 20 minutes and is now the longest American-made animated feature film, taking the place of this 2 hour and 16-minute film. A. Consuming Spirits, released in 2012. B. The Lord of the Rings, released in 1978. C. I Am Nightmare, released in 2014. Or D. Fantasia in 1940.
Oh boy. This is a time when I wish I had a phone a friend thing and just like poke one of my friends who's into the original animated Lord of the Rings. Like, is it that long? It's the whole saga. A is
Consuming Spirits, released in 2012. Is that your guess?
It's A, and then B is Lord of the Rings. Oh God. I'm gonna go for Lord of the Rings.
Man, you should have stuck with A. Yeah, Consuming Spirits is now the second longest American-made feature-length animated film. Question 2. How many days prior to the May 20th release of the film was production completed? A, 5 days. B, 42 days. C, 13 days. D, 1 day. The film released May 20th.
Yeah.
How many days before did they finish the film?
5?
No, it's not that insane. And I'm not letting you guess multiple times. You just get one guess. It was C, 13 days.
Wow.
So still crazy. You got to get these next 3 questions right.
Or I'm out of house and home.
Oof, man. Okay, question 3. Which character's name is changed in between Into and Across the Spider-Verse? A, Gwen. B, Jefferson. C, Genki. D, Captain Stacy. One of these characters' names is changed from what it was in Into the Spider-Verse.
Was it Gwen?
No, it's not Gwen. It is Jefferson Davis. He took Rio's last name of Morales.
Oh.
So now he is Jefferson Morales.
That's cute.
Yeah. It's a fun fact.
I don't have a home anymore. Let's do the final 2 questions.
Exactly. You got to at least get some dignity out of this.
Yeah.
Prior to the release of Across the Spider-Verse, Sony Pictures Animation's highest grossing film worldwide was A, The Emoji Movie, released in 2017. B, Surf's Up, released in 2007. C, The Smurfs, released in 2011, or D, Hotel Transylvania 3, released in 2018. So, Emoji Movie, Surf's Up, The Smurfs, or Hotel Transylvania 3.
Hotel Transylvania 3 is such a poll. To just like, but you're all so sneaky like that.
Maybe I am, maybe I'm not. Who knows?
The thing is, the stakes are gone now. I'm already homeless. So, like, Smurfs.
You are correct. It is the Smurfs.
I had to lose everything to be able to win.
You got to get those little blue people in here to help you move.
Yeah, it just felt like a sort of thing as like worldwide.
Yeah, that's the one with Neil Patrick Harris, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Also, it's weird. It is technically a Sony Pictures animation film, but it is like a blended film. So it's very funny that it's the highest grossing. Question number 5. The sequence on Earth 13122, the Lego universe, was animated by Preston Mutanga, who was hired after Phil Lord and Christopher Miller were impressed with his Twitter video recreating the entire trailer with Lego, so in stop motion. How old is he? A, 17. B, 10. C, 12. D, 14.
I thought I knew this, and then my answer was none of them.
Oh, no.
14?
That is correct.
Okay,
it is D,
I thought
14.
it was 15.
Wow, you almost were able to stay here if you had just gotten one more question
Just
right.
one more
Damn.
question.
Well, I'll be taking applications for both a new roommate
Is there
and
anything that I can do to win you back?
God, that's a really... there are so many bad ways that can go.
I was hoping I could just like say something Spider-Man-y and you'd be like, okay, I understand.
Tell me a Spider-Man fact you think I don't know. Hey, you asked. You said, is there anything?
What is the time limit on this question?
You've got the next 15 seconds to say something.
Spider-Man's good, actually.
Spider-Man's good, actually, is your fun fact about Spider-Man. Yeah. Just Spider-Man as a character, Spider-Man as a brand. What?
All.
I guess you can stay here.
Okay. I have too many things to move this quickly.
I didn't mean you had 15 seconds to move.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm a little less panicked now.
Amazing. Bob, do you have any closing thoughts about the movie? Or the fact that you get to stay here now?
To the second one, yay. To the first one, I'm just really excited for the next part and to watch all three of them back to back to back.
Yeah.
In like a yearly fashion of just, it's time to binge Spider-Verse.
The way I do the Scream movies.
Yeah. Maybe that can be my like birthday thing.
Hell
I get to
yeah.
watch all the Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good. We still need to drag Katie Terrar in here to watch the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. She did come by recently to talk about Ted Lasso a couple weeks ago, so go check that episode out. Bob, where can the good people find you?
The people can find me at asmallfrogart.com. Art made by and for frogs. Other people also welcome.
Great. And you can visit www.thebutchandtheby.com. That's Andy, not ampersand. And if you could go follow us on Instagram, that link is there. It'd be a big help. Go check it out. We post reels for episodes and other fun things we're doing, including that's where we usually announce when we have a live improv show coming up that we are either partaking in or that we are doing. So yeah, go check out our Instagram. It's at The Butch and the Bi, or you can just find the link on our website. Thank you for listening. And if you enjoyed this new format, please let us know on one of the social media platforms. You can also submit feedback via our website. There's a little chat bubble option. And yeah, if you like this format, let us know. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Butch.